Post-spawn funk 101. We're gonna break down what does the post-spawn mean, what is that funk that these bass go through, and how the heck are we gonna catch some fish during that time period. So a lot of bass anglers, they think post-spawn and then they think, man, those fish are just not biting, period. Well, if you kind of understand what the bass are doing, you can understand how to catch those bass much better. So after the fish spawn, the largemouth, spots, smallmouth, they're all kind of similar, but we're going to focus mostly on largemouth here. On those big largemouth, the females, they're going to spawn out, and then they're going to go kind of chill out there for a little bit. When I say chill out, they're not going to go too far. A lot of times, in most parts of the country, the shad are spawning at night. So in my opinion, a lot of times what happens to those females is that they strictly feed at night, or almost exclusively at night. So, but they're not going to go, they don't immediately go out to 40 feet of water. They don't do that. They hang around the shallows in certain types of areas, but the males are the ones that are usually the most catchable in that post-spawn funk period. And you think, I don't want to catch males, they're tiny. No, that is not the case. Just fished a tournament recently on Lake Hartwell. A lot of 3 to 4 pound males on this lake, which you don't think big giant bass at Lake Hartwell. But I'm telling you, there were 3 to 4 pound fry guarders. They're guarding those baby bass. That's where a lot of those fish are. So where does that happen? On this lake, there's not a lot of shoreline cover. If you could find a laydown, typically that's where you would find those fry. But in a lot of areas, there's not laydowns, there's not a lot of shoreline cover, there's not grass. So they were going to be around docks. Those fry, you would see them. You could see them on your live scope. You could see them with your eye scope. You could see them wherever you could, especially when it was sunny. Those they come up in the water column. So those big fry garter bass are going to be hanging out under those fry, being protective. That doesn't mean they're easy to catch, but they are catchable. So what type of baits are we talking about here? We're talking topwater baits and baits that sink slow or stay high in the water column. And for example, one of the baits that's really good in the post spawn is a Neko rig. This is a quiver 4.5 from Missile. It's got a little 1/32 ounce weight in there, so it falls slow. Got a split shot drop shot hook, just hooked kind of in the middle. We're talking lighter line. This is 8 pound leader, got about a 10-foot leader to 16 pound braid on there. Just got it on a cash and drop shot rod, 7GX reel. You want to have a nice smooth drag, but this is a classic setup for when those fish, that thing's just falling real slow. Another good option that's similar, some very similar setup, is a drop shot with a lighter weight, because what happens, I feel like these fish are up in the water column, or they're looking up in the water column, and when you throw either a Neko rig, drop shot, wacky rig that has that slower fall, they'll watch that bait and then they'll either bite it before it gets to the bottom, or they're going to go ahead and just follow it to the bottom and bite it there. So that's really one big thing. Topwaters. Anytime you have a lot of shallow grass, there's going to be bass in that shallow grass. So popping frogs, regular bronze-eye spro frogs, those are going to be really productive in that shallow grass area, because those fry are going to be in that shallow grass area. That's one of the reasons that shallow grass is so good. But in a lake like the one we're on here, you don't have that. You're going to be looking for more of a big walking bait. I think that big walking bait, it's loud, it's obnoxious, it churns around, causes a lot of commotion. You can throw it in pockets, you can throw it around docks, you can throw it on secondary points, main lake points, where those fish are going to be easing out to wherever the buffet line is, to wherever that shad spawn or heron spawn, if it's on that type of lake, that's where that's going to be going down. Just throw that on 50 pound Sunline AMZ braid, 7-foot rod, medium heavy, something you can fire way out there, make long casts, cover a lot of water. That's a really good way to catch some fish in that post spawn period. And it can be all day. because when the sun comes out, as I mentioned, those fry come higher in the water column. Those bass are higher in the water column. It's not a big reach for them to just run up to the surface and blast a topwater bait that they think might be churning up their fry. And then last but not least, do not overlook a glide bait like a Chad Shad or an Eco. You don't need to throw a monster one this time of year. You want to throw something that looks like a big bait fish, a big herring, a bluegill, something like that that is chopping through those fry. So if you can throw something that's running through those fry, that big male bass is going to just crush these glide baits. That is like a low-key, quiet thing in that post-spawn period that a lot of people don't take advantage of that time of year. 20-pound FC Sniper, you know, a 7/8 swim bait rod, high speed GS reel from 7. That's kind of the setup that I run there. But that post-spawn funk is not have to be a funk time period, man. You can catch a ton of fish during that time period. Get out there and get after it, and remember all those tips that I just gave you.